Hi everyone, happy Wednesday, it's Alysia here, and I'm very excited to be joined today by Christian Myers, my partner in Street Global Venture Capital, for this very special edition of our bi-weekly Entrepreneur Wednesdays Global Fireside Chat. Welcome to our discussion of an extremely important topic, artificial intelligence, also known as AI. AI is a technology that will fundamentally change business and society, and the topic of today's exciting Global Fireside Chat. Whatever our role in business and politics in the world today, it's a topic we all need to understand better so we can ultimately create the futures we want. I'm broadcasting to you live from London, home to cutting-edge research into AI, its social and economic implications, and to some of the world's leading AI companies, including DeepMind, which has just become part of Alphabet. I'm grateful to be joined by some incredibly special companies and entrepreneurs working with this powerful technology or taking time to share their valuable insights so we can learn from them. For those of you who don't know, our topic for today is big data and artificial intelligence. What's all the buzz? What can we expect? What should we be thinking about? Our global panel is going to share their opinions. I'm especially excited today because I happen to be a statistician and data scientist, so I'm looking forward to also learning from the best. Now I've got you all excited. Let me go ahead and introduce you to our VIP guests before asking them to properly introduce themselves to you. Welcome to Georgia, USA-based Kalu Chidiebere, who's an entrepreneur, software developer, and natural innovator. Welcome to Delhi, India-based Paritosh Sharma, who's a technologist, digital marketer, and author. Unfortunately, Misbah Ashraf out of Delhi as well has just had an accident, so he won't be joining us, but he will be joining us in an upcoming session. Welcome to California, USA-based Chance J. Du, who's an investor, mentor, and entrepreneur. Welcome to Lisbon, Portugal-based Vasco Patricio, who's a technologist, entrepreneur, and startup advisor. Welcome to California-based Diego Torres Palma, who's an entrepreneur, influencer, builder, and growth hacker. Welcome to Saudi Arabia-based Ali Mahmoud, who's a business builder, product manager, and startup mentor. And welcome to our very own investor in residence, Christian Myers, who will be joining us with an investor's perspective. Now, I know you want to learn from them, so let me go ahead and quickly ask them to introduce themselves too. Starting with Kalu. Kalu, please say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kalu. I am the co-founder of LookLive.com. So it's a YC startup, and what we do is we take your favorite celebrities and influencers, and we tag and identify everything that they're wearing, and we give you their style for less, essentially. So please check us out. And again, thank you for this opportunity.
Welcome. Very, very excited that you're joining us, Kalu. Paritosh, please say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paritosh Sharma. I'm from Delhi, India. I'm the co-founder and chief marketing officer for UnCV. UnCV transforms LinkedIn for your business into a powerful CRM tool. We've been there for about 1 year in existence, and we're growing. Thank you, Alysia, for making this happen.
Welcome, Paritosh. Very excited you're joining us. Chance, please say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone. This is Chance. I'm in San Francisco. Say hi to you guys. This is my first time to join this kind of conversation virtually. I'm a founding partner at the Coefficient Ventures. Coefficient Ventures is an early stage fund. We invested specifically in the AI and the blockchain space. So we're looking for some very cool ideas that will gonna change this world. Nice to see you guys here.
Welcome, Chance. Very excited that you're joining us. Diego, please say hi to everyone.
Hello, everybody. My name is Diego. I'm joining you all from LA. I'm a growth hacker. I've started different companies in fashion and video, most recently in transportation. And right now I'm starting a new real estate development company, which is pretty cool, based out of LA. Thank you for having me, guys.
Welcome. Very excited you're joining us as well. Vasco, please say hi to everyone.
Hi, guys. I'm Vasco. I'm a two-time co-founder of marketing startups that involve artificial intelligence, and I've also intelligence suite for the MIT Portugal Startup Accelerator that includes startups that use artificial intelligence in sectors ranging from healthcare to energy and to all other different verticals. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome, Vasco. And last but definitely not least, Ali, please say hi.
Hello everyone, I'm Ali Mahmoud from Saudi Arabia. I'm co-founder of Gamersgate, and at the same time I'm a product manager and startup mentor and meme incubator, one of the most famous incubators in Saudi Arabia.
Hey Ali, great to have you join us. And Christian, back again. Come say hi to everyone.
Hello, Alysia. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, and thank you for hosting this important conversation. My name is Christian Myers. I'm based in San Francisco. I'm a seed stage technology investor who, along with Alysia, invests in startups that are solving large global challenges, including things like health. And some of our companies are helping to diagnose disease and prevent disease using AI. Thank you very much.
Glad to have you join us again, Christian. Just before we jump into questions for our VIP guests, a few shout outs. On the screen are contact details for our VIPs. Feel free to reach out to them. You can always send your questions through to inspireme@onlinefiresidechat.com, and we'll do our best to make sure they get answered. Just a reminder, we have community champions and ever-growing meetup groups in over 80 cities in 60 countries around the globe, including in North and South America, the UK, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, India, and Asia, and of course Australia. If you'd like to meet up with your local chapters or you'd like to start your own, feel free to reach out to us via email. We'll do our very best to connect you. On that note, thank you to all our volunteer champions from around the globe. I know I say this, but I can't say it enough. You're the heart and soul of our community, and we would not be here today without you. Over the next few months, with all our help, our plan is to inspire entrepreneurs in 100 countries. We know together we can make this happen. Thanks again to our VIP guests for joining us today and for sharing your knowledge so generously with our global community. Thank you to all the presidents, prime ministers, ambassadors, and our growing family of supporters and collaborators from around the developing world for once again hosting sessions for hundreds of entrepreneurs who don't have access to the necessary bandwidth or understanding of the English language to join our sessions on their own. Thank you to all the government ministries, UN offices, World Economic Forum, US Embassy Corners, British Council offices, university campuses, schools, business incubators, Chamber of Commerce, and community centers, and of course, all the radio stations who support our global fireside chat community. Thank you, of course, to our UN Women team as well. Now, you're here to learn, and that's exactly what you're going to be doing. So our topic for today is big data and artificial intelligence, and we've got some super cool people joining us. So just to make our VIP guests feel extra comfortable, we're going to be posing a question to one of you. It goes to all of you. Please sit back, relax, have a great time, and share your insights with us just to make sure you understand no answer is wrong. We are here to learn from you, and we are very excited that you're joining us. So who's going to be on the hot seat today? Let's start with Paritosh. Paritosh, get ready because we're going to be asking you a question. So Paritosh, in your opinion, what are some basic examples of current AI? And then, of course, how do you define it in simple terms? Please get us going for today.
Sure. So thanks, Alysia, for putting me on the hot seat right up front. A very, very important question, and I would one define AI in the most simple terms as evolution of humanity, right? So whatever knowledge that humanity has gathered over many years, ultimately that's being converted into code, and finally it's helping us automate tasks that we probably wouldn't need humans for. And I think that's really good, because as humanity progresses ahead in the world, it's only beneficial to make it far more efficient, to make it far more better and faster for everyone. So that's how at least I define AI in the simplest terms, for the benefit of everyone, and not going too technically deep into it. On the other part of the question, at least for myself, I think the most important element, of course, there are tons of problems to be solved using AI today, but the one that I am particularly working on is finding people work, right? So ultimately, everyone, while we kind of talking about job losses and so many more things happening around the world, I think it'd be really important to help people, help professionals today be ready for the future, and that's how at least I am implementing AI.
Thank you, Paritosh. We've got so many questions to cover today. Looking forward to hearing more from you on that question. Vasco and Chance. Vasco, please go first. We'd love to hear your insights before we move on to our next question. Vasco, please go for it.
So Paritosh gave a great answer, and what I would like to add is that I think that AI pretty much at the end of the day adds correlations to data. So you are able to draw correlations and you are able to view patterns that you wouldn't otherwise see because you don't have access to that data. So for example, in my case, I co-founded a startup that did recommendations. So you are able to customize content and customize products to people that you would otherwise not be able to do without artificial intelligence. And this among many other uses, of course.
Thank you, Vasco. And Chance, I know you have some insights you wanted to share here. Please go for it.
Yeah, I think for AI, it's more like kind of a tool. We don't need a specific. I more like to understand like the fundamental thing of AI is basically it's a tool. You have to think in AI for companies, for startups. When you build your product, you have to think about how to collect your data and use this data to improve your product to make it your customer more satisfied or your product. Then in that chance, you actually could make your product much better and attract more users, and actually could create your much larger data. Then you can make a better product. So I more like to think in this way. AI is a tool. It's not like a very hardcore like rocket science or something like that.
Thank you, Chance. And I know our invested residents has some thoughts to share here. Christian, please share your thoughts in terms of what our VIPs have been saying.
Well, I think what's great about this conversation is we're seeing a diversity of lenses on the topic of AI, and that's important because how you define AI in some respects is a function of what you're trying to achieve with it. And for general purposes, the big difference with AI is it's software that can draw conclusions where the software that draws the conclusion hasn't been written by the designer. So today, all of the outcomes and insights produced through analysis using software are a function of what the engineer who coded the software wrote. AI can draw conclusions on its own that the people who built it can't understand. So we're able to learn about complex problems that engineers couldn't solve on their own. And then there's another type of AI that can learn on its own. So machine learning is a phrase used in AI. And by harvesting large sets of data and analyzing it, the software can actually start to learn on its own. And so in the press, AI is often equated with human intelligence, but today, many of the applications of AI, especially in business, are about applying it to solve specific problems, such as driving cars better or optimizing the use of power grids. So AI is not necessarily general intelligence as we understand it as human beings.
Thank you, Christian. Jumping into our next question, we're going to pose this one to you, Kalu, and then, of course, we'd like to hear what Diego and Ali has to say, along with any of our other VIPs. Kalu, there are, as Christian's been talking about, there are different types of AI. We'd love to hear your thoughts in terms of what's out there, what's happening, what excites you.
Yeah, sure. So AI for me, when it comes to e-commerce, like really excites me because it gives like this personal feel to the experience for the user, right? So there are a number of different things within e-commerce that AI does, from improving recommendations for customers, retargeting for potential customers, and creating a more efficient sales process. So for me, it's just like as data grows and as we're able to analyze this data, we're able to really pick apart what the user actually wants and how we can serve like the right products and the right experience to each and every one of our users.
Thank you, Kalu. And I know Diego's got some thoughts on this. Diego, please go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from my perspective, in terms of transportation, and Christian sort of touched on this as he spoke around cars and the power grid, as we think about the autonomous vehicle using a lot of that data and a lot of AI to do simple things like power up, when to power down, how to conserve energy, when is the best time to accelerate versus decelerate, and then even using data and the sensors around it to predict either routes or simple like when do I take a left turn, when do I take a right turn. And so it's both a function of using data in real time as much as it is as what's going on in the surroundings. And so I think those things are exciting as it relates to transportation and the future of the autonomous vehicle.
Thank you, Diego. And I know Ali's got some very interesting insights coming out of Saudi Arabia. Ali, please go ahead and share with our global community.
Actually, thank you all. I would like to add regarding the AI in e-commerce itself. I believe it will handle all of the operation, starting from taking orders from people, because the coming era of e-commerce is based on kind of personalization. You have to speak with someone and tell them, as you're doing in the offline shops, you'll do it online as well. It's not just about clicking on things that you like or something like that, but you'll talk to someone and you'll talk to, the AI, and it will understand your behavior. Later on, it will start to recommend some stuff to you. And in other words, you'll be dealing with kind of semi-human person. It will love you. It will do whatever you want. Later on, it will be your best friend. So this is, I believe, lately that the AI will handle all of the operations regarding from taking the order to the delivery of the product to people.
Thank you, Ali. And I know Christian's got some insights in terms of what the three of you have been saying. Christian, please go ahead.
Well, I was just going to point out that the words data and networks have come up in the conversation so far. And when I think about AI, one of the questions I ask is, why now? Why can we use it in a much more powerful way today? And that's because we have networks that are pulling large amounts of data together, because this software needs data to learn and see patterns that humans can't see. So for generalized understanding, the thing that's allowing AI to start to fulfill its promise and become very real in the business world, the thing that's changed is the presence of networks and data, as well as tools. But networks and data are a big part of it, because the software needs data to learn. And the other thing I'm noting is the applications. Moving things in transportation is a big early application of AI. You can optimize how things with many moving pieces perform, including transportation networks.
Thank you, Christian. And moving on to our next question, we'd like to open this up to Vasco, and then we'd love to hear from you, Paritosh and Chance. Vasco, you work with some very cool entrepreneurs from around the globe. We'd love to know what they're working on in terms of AI. Please go ahead and share.
Okay, so that's actually a very interesting question, because you have the usual uses of AI. So for example, in medicine or in life sciences, you can use AI to better recognize patterns, for X-rays, to detect certain diseases, to detect cancer, and that's being certainly used. And you also have, naturally, as Diego touched on as well, content curation and recommendation for fashion, for retail, for all kinds of products. But we have also seen some different uses, such as, for example, we have a company that's doing, they're called FiberSail, and they're doing structural sensing through fiber optics. So pretty much what they do is they have sensors that sense the distortion on a boat or on a vehicle, and in real time, they aggregate these changes, and they tell you if the material is actually deteriorating, if it's in good shape, or if it's suffering any kind of change. So those are some examples.
Thank you, Vasco. And we'd love to hear from Paritosh. What's going on in India in terms of the AI space? Please go ahead.
Sure. So a couple of things. I think in India, the earliest forms of AI that have really emerged out are chatbots. So a lot of startups are now building chatbots for various applications. Of course, one of the key conversations that happen within business circles here in India is how could AI actually improve customer experience across the various business cycles that a customer goes through. The other example that I have particularly seen is in transportation. I recently visited the innovation labs at Yamaha in India, and I think they're doing phenomenal work in terms of how to make transportation a lot more safer and not just autonomous for people. So these are two examples that I've seen in India.
Thank you so much. And Chance, I'm sure you've seen some very interesting stuff. Please go ahead and share.
Yeah, I really think for AI, for startups, especially entrepreneurs, should looking at a specific industry, a specific very short lateral area to solve the real problems. I saw startups is also in India. They use machine learning to kind of like they create a software. It's like very simple to use for the end users. They can take picture of the skin. If they have some skin problems, they match this picture with the data set, then can come out some like kind of like drugs for this user to buy themselves. So basically, it's like maybe cost you like 5,000 or 2,000 to go to a doctor to say that your skin problems and give you kind of the drugs prescriptions. But right now you can do it by yourself by using a software, and it's very cheap. It's maybe just cost you $50. And I thought it's really exciting problem, like those entrepreneurs finding a way to use AI, like very, very specifically problems. That's my thoughts about this.
Thank you, Chance. And Kalu, I know you're a YC startup, so you get to see some of the coolest stuff coming out of Silicon Valley. What are some cool YC startups working on in the AI space? Please go for it.
Well, so I can't necessarily speak of any YC startups that are working in the AI space, but I can just speak of some of the startups that we look at on a constant basis. Like one of the companies that's working on like a virtual personal shopper is Mona, and it was developed by like a couple of Amazon employees. And for us, like the reason why we look at Mona so much is because how can we bring that same experience to Look Live? So as you're looking for your favorite celebrity or influencer, you're actually able to get like a real-time assistance from a personal shopper or whatnot. So that's one of the biggest companies that we actually look into.
Thank you, Kalu. And Diego, I know LA is a hotspot right now for some cool stuff in the tech space. Please tell us what you see.
Absolutely. Given the amount of data around people's buying behaviors, I'm starting to see a tremendous amount of companies that are developing that are effectively saying, oh, Diego orders a product every 45 days. And I know Amazon's already doing this, but what they're actually doing is linking that with, let's say, social media. And so things that are trending. And so an easy example would be like when there is Shark Week, maybe this company or companies offer Shark Week products. And let's say I'm coming up on my next buying cycle. And so magically I'll just get, and this is all AI based, magically I'll just get an email saying, here's 20% off. This is a trending topic on Twitter, and please enjoy our product. And so I think that innovation is really, really cool. They're even setting it up where these, let's say these robots play into demographics. And so if I'm from the South, maybe I'm getting an email based on a Southern accent, or maybe I'm referencing college football as it relates to the South. And so I think the level of personalization that I'm starting to see is pretty amazing. It's pretty cool stuff.
Thank you for sharing. And I know Ali's here to share some insights on this. Ali, what are the cool startups in the AI space in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East doing to change the world? Please share with us.
Actually, now in the last few months, Prince Mohammed bin Salman started to initiate the entrepreneur atmosphere in Saudi Arabia, and he's focusing on promoting for the AI and big data. So the Saudi nation would push towards something, and you can say overcome or can overwhelm the Middle East and Gulf area. You know, the Saudi Arabia itself wants to prove to the whole world and want to change the oil economy to be into the e-commerce economy more than anything else. So therefore, they are pushing into the AI and the e-commerce. And I believe in my startup, the gamersgate.me, we're focusing on how to make it more social, how to make the AI more social. So it will go from one user to another, just to make sure that they are more interested, like in adventure games and in RPG or whatsoever. So, and it will give kind of insights to the admin, so we'll be able to customize it into more human behavior. That's all.
Thank you. And Christian has some insights he wants to share here in terms of healthcare commerce. Please go for it, Christian, before we move on to our next question.
Yes, I just wanted to note that as I was enjoying the comments from the team here, two industries keep coming up, commerce and healthcare. And one interesting thing about commerce is that companies that are in commerce, such as Amazon and Google, tend to have large data sets. So those companies are leading the way with AI development and advances. So a very clear example of how data affects a company's ability to implement AI and advance the field. And then with respect to healthcare, this is one of the exciting areas where AI is being applied. Healthcare is a problem around the world. People need more access, they need less expensive access, and they need better diagnostics and care. In the US, what's happening is the FDA, our health approvals regulatory body, will soon be approving prescriptions based on AI recommendations. So we have companies, including companies from Y Combinator, that are analyzing large data sets to see if someone might have cancer or be developing other diseases, detect that, and then some of those companies are actually going to be able to recommend care based on those analyses. So some very exciting advancements that should improve well-being around the globe.
Thank you, Christian. On that note, our next question goes to Paritosh. Paritosh, in your opinion, is it a mistake to equate human intelligence with AI? We'd love to hear your thoughts here.
So very, very, very powerful question. I would say no. Ultimately, how, or just to kind of flip the question around, how I would like to talk about it is, look, ultimately, artificial intelligence is human intelligence exponentially multiplied and now supported or enabled or empowered by the advancement in technology, right? And everyone on this panel has spoken about it. I sincerely feel that instead of comparing AI to the human intelligence, it's really, really important to just understand that it's natural progression. It's not even something that is new. This is just natural progression of how humanity needs to grow. That's at least my feeling of it.
Thank you, Paritosh. We love learning from the best. Thank you for your insights there. Diego, what's your opinion on this?
It's funny, whenever I talk to my teams, I always tell them we're all on neocortex version 1. And so we're effectively using the oldest brain in the world. And so I think the human, or at least from my perspective, the human experience is really built on understanding the limitations of the brain. And I think the AI experience is really focused on how to maximize or sort of where to pick up where neocortex version 1 drops off. And I think that's the way I look at it. And so the equation, the cool thing is it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. AI needs the human intelligence. And so we're sort of in control of it. But that's how I look at it.
Thank you, Diego. And let's hear from our venture capitalist. Chance, what are your thoughts on this question? Please go ahead.
Yes, actually, right now, the current AI stage, the technology is not in the general AI yet. So most of the product is like a human intelligence plus AI intelligence, then can make it work perfectly. Like a lot of like chatbot, like they may be like the machine could answer you like lots of questions based on their data, but actually some like very personalized questions they have to switch to humans. So I think it's a good way in this current stage. If some startups want doing this direction, then could come back together, maybe work better.
Thank you, Chance. Moving from our venture capitalist to one of our startups, let's hear what you have to say on the subject. Kalu, please go for it.
Sure. I think it's interesting to understand that the idea of artificial intelligence has been in existence for decades. Even from the time of like Aristotle, when he described the method of like formal mechanical thought. It's only up until today that we're able to take the advantages of like these vast data sets that were provided and actually able to analyze that data. So I just think that like artificial intelligence has been around since like BC or maybe even before BC. It's all about human thought and how we can optimize human thought.
Thank you, Kalu. And Ali, please share your thoughts on the subject before we ask Christian what he thinks. Ali, go for it.
Actually, in the current stage, we are utilizing and using the AI, but I'm afraid in a couple of years, after getting a lot of data and a lot of behavior, it will be using us. I mean, like, because this is how it will end up. It's not like a movie or something, but this is the truth, because as long as you put information in one single server or in one single AI, it will develop fast, as what happened to the Microsoft AI. I don't remember its name. When it interacted with a lot of people, it developed very fast. Within 24 hours, then they shut it down, and they were afraid of it. So in the current stage, we can utilize it as much as we can, but I believe in less than 5 years, it will be the other side. It will be using us, but in the right way, as long as we are utilizing it in the right way.
Thank you, Ali. And let's hear from Christian what you have to say on this.
Well, I find this part of the conversation fascinating because it's such a big topic. How you frame it and where you're coming from experientially has a lot to do with how you define it. Mm-hmm. And one thing I would say is we use the phrase artificial intelligence, but we could also say computational intelligence. And if we say computational intelligence, that starts to highlight that this could be a different form of intelligence that we're talking about. And by that, very specifically, I mean, there will be software programs and intelligences that are very, very good at specific tasks, such as coordinating a network of cars or making sure the sound quality of a network is perfect. And those will be very much unlike human intelligence. They will excel at things our brains don't excel at in ways our brains don't excel. And then there is a separate sphere of AI called generalized intelligence, and that refers to software that can actually perform like humans. So there are different forms of AI. Some of it's very task specific and will be unlike human intelligence. And if we call it computational intelligence, maybe that's easier to understand. And if we use artificial intelligence and talk about generalized intelligence, that's more akin to the research into mimicking human intelligence.
Thank you, Christian. And our next question goes to Diego. Diego, what are some of the industries or jobs where AI is being used that you find interesting that other people might find surprising? Any thoughts on this? Please go ahead.
Sure. I mean, the one that I'm the most interested in, and I guess really from my background, is transportation. And it doesn't sound like, based on the panel here, that anyone's going to find that one surprising. But I think the impact of transportation, the autonomous vehicle as it relates to fleets, is certainly surprising to me in the way that lawmakers are already starting to gravitate to it. And we have tests going on in Pittsburgh and places in Arizona. And so I think as those applications get accepted, I find that surprising personally as like a technologist. Maybe I shouldn't, but I find that the public, the way the public is having interactions with these sort of AI-driven technologies has been fascinating to me.
Thank you, Diego. And Chance, we'd love to hear your thoughts in terms of this. Please go ahead.
Actually, I'm pretty agree with Diego. I think for the machine learning technology for use apply for the real world, I feel very exciting about the self-driving car. It's just fundamentally change how people, like used to, like we have to have a human to drive the car. But I haven't get a license for myself yet in the United States, so I'm waiting for the self-driving car. I feel excited. And also, actually, a lot of people maybe not know what's the current stage of the self-driving car yet. But after I did a very deep DD and like the due diligence for one like latest and self-driving car startups, I feel like it's pretty will happen very soon. You can see like a lot of my friends like use Tesla to kind of like operate some kind of like self-driving in the highway. And also like in San Francisco, you can always see like cruise cars and everywhere. So I feel like very exciting about maybe next 3 to 5 years, you could see the real happen. People could buy maybe one of those cars.
Thank you, Chance. Really cool insights being shared there. Paritosh, please go ahead and share.
So for me, while I'm just going to kind of build on the exact same conversation which was happening, but not in the form of a car. I recently read that now AI is going to make airplanes drive or fly on their own. I think it's just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal if a massive body could move by itself, figure its own chart out, and ultimately land a group of people from one place to another. It's phenomenal. And I also kind of have seen in India a couple of tests going on in hospitals, especially when they're actually treating patients, especially skin diseases, using AI. So for me, these two are it might not be surprising for all of you, but I think here in India, these are some really interesting times that we are living in.
Thank you, Paritosh. And Kalu, you got some insights you wanted to share there. Please go ahead before we hear from Christian.
Yeah. So again, like it's no surprise that we've been talking about the transportation industry, but I always bring it back to e-commerce because that's where I live. And I just believe that, again, like artificial intelligence is going to be the next step for e-commerce because we're able to personalize the experience for our users. Yet again, I think that's the most important aspect of it all. The reason why big retailers are having a hard time with their users is because, again, like they're not giving users exactly what they want. A lot of big box retailers, like they give you a whole bunch of products and say, hey, we believe this is what you want to buy, but they're not really getting to the crux of what users are asking for. So we believe that with artificial intelligence and big data, like it will start to give users exactly what they need.
Thank you. And let's hear from Christian. What are your thoughts in terms of this, Christian?
Well, I'm just enjoying this conversation a lot. And one of the things I think is neat about the topic of transportation that's come up is, in addition to autonomous vehicles, there's an opportunity to coordinate with AI. And so if we talk about very specific industry applications, some exciting things we're seeing in transportation is not only will cars and other vehicles be autonomous, but they'll be able to operate more efficiently. They'll be able to be in the right place at the right time, and they'll be able to speed up the flow of the entire transportation network because all of those vehicles will be able to coordinate by communicating with one another and applying AI software to optimizing that. That will also be true with airplanes and air traffic control. And then if we talk about e-commerce, a big area where AI is going to be used to coordinate is with supply chains. So overall, I think we can look forward to a future where our resources are used more efficiently, and that's good for everyone.
Thank you, Christian. And I know Chance had some thoughts she wanted to add there on the e-commerce front before I ask her the next question. Chance, please go for it.
Yeah, I invested in a company called Grand Market. They are a very big e-commerce company focused on the food delivery company. So they're like delivery from the farm to door. So they're a very big problem in terms of the inventory. So I think I mean for AI, if you can predict like how many demands for your customer side, actually you could make a very good fit with your inventory and your demands from the customer side. That will save a lot of the cost and also make the whole company more efficient. But I think for a lot of traditional e-commerce companies, they don't have the ability to create a very strong AI teams. That's actually it's a very big problem with a lot of like the kind of like small or medium-sized startups. I'm really looking for some like companies doing this in a specific industry and create a very amazing AI product could usable for those small, medium-sized like e-commerce companies, could make their whole process more efficient and less cost.
Thank you, Chance. And you had some fascinating insights to share there. Let's jump on in and ask you the next question. Let's talk about the future of AI. What's the one thing people should know about, Chance? Please go for it.
I mean, I think for it depends for normal people and for people in this industry. And for this industry, I mean, for startups or founders should really, just like I mentioned earlier before, should have this sense of collected their data. Maybe they cannot use it, but in the future, maybe have some very simple tools for individuals or kind of small startups could use it and in a very simple way, then actually can make use of their data. That's I think like all the companies should have a sense of collecting their data and make it realizable. And for normal people, I think AI right now probably a little bit far away, and also they kind of have some understanding of it's kind of like a general AI. Their understanding maybe AI means general AI, but actually right now it's not. It's more like before one of our panelists mentioned it's like computational intelligence. So I mean, just for the prince, I think should kind of clarify about that. Otherwise, people just think AI just a buzzword, like it's very far away from us, but actually it's kind of very close to us. Just step by step. Right now, we're in a computational intelligence level.
Thank you, Chance. Paritosh, what's one thing people should know about AI in the future? Please go ahead.
I think for me that one thing is just one word, that AI is nothing but imagination. That's it. That's how I think. As much as you could imagine, as much as you could create.
Thank you, Paritosh. Diego, your thoughts in terms of this question?
Sure. So for entrepreneurs, I think the one thing that's interesting about AI in particular is it even starts with mining the data. And so I think when I talk to teams and the formation of teams, as there's less and less, let's say, opportunities to mine data that hasn't already been looked at, then it becomes really important on how different companies end up using the data. And so how do you build teams? How do people structure their businesses, in particular as it relates to hiring, to not so much cleanse the data, but do something meaningful with it? And so that's kind of the one thing I focus on in terms of the future of AI.
Thank you, Diego. Kalu, we'd love to hear from you, and then Ali, and then of course Christian. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think kind of piggybacking off of Diego, it's the legitimacy of the data. I believe that there's a line between what is legitimate behavior or malicious behavior, and the same thing with good traffic, bad traffic, and vice versa. So I think the future of security will need to be more adaptive, because as of right now, it's been more prescriptive and rigid. However, the data is going to show, like from machines, how machines actually think about legitimacy and illegitimacy. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Thank you. And we'd love to hear from Ali and then, of course, Christian. Ali, please go for it. Share your insights on this question.
As long as AI analyzes the people behavior, it will be able to have a step ahead to people. So in marketing, or actually in e-commerce, as long as it will understand the behavior of people, it will try to produce, or actually to introduce products that people might need. Because of course, everyone in every word he says or writes on the computer, once the AI analyze these words, it will be able to predict what this person will need in the near future. Therefore, it will create a lot of innovation and a lot of good things.
Thank you, Ali. And of course, Christian, we'd love to hear your insights on this question.
I think a basic thing for all of us to keep in mind is that AI is a new type of powerful tool for solving problems, and we shouldn't look at it as science fiction. We should look at it as something that's happening today and that will come into play in all spheres of business and government and life. It's a very powerful new type of tool for solving problems. Existing problems will be solved in more efficient ways, and then we'll be able to do things like coordinate all the traffic in a city that we just couldn't solve before.
Thank you, Christian. And coming back to this question, it's a fascinating question to be dealing with. Diego, you briefly touched on it in terms of what entrepreneurs should know. Kalu, I know you also shared your thoughts. Coming back to you, Diego, how do you believe the vast majority of people that are not developing AI businesses are going to benefit from AI? Diego, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think it starts with simple applications, things like Google Assistant or even Siri. And so I think even for me, it's like if someone could remind me when to send flowers to certain individuals that are important in my life, or even automate that entire process, I think that's important. And so I think some of the like virtual assistants, things like that, automating traffic patterns. If I have a meeting, understanding when I have to leave. I think small applications like that, and you're starting to see those emerge. I know with the new iOS 11 that Apple just released, and Google Assistant is coming up and getting much better, as is Siri. And so I think that's an immediate impact of where people will start to see AI impact their life.
Thank you, Diego and Chance. We'd love to hear from you. How are normal people going to benefit from all the AI that's happening?
I think right now there's a big kind of like technology inequity. So that's I feel like very disappointed because not many people could kind of actually benefit from it because they don't know what's going on there. Like the people maybe in China, the middle west part China or Tibet of China, maybe have nothing to do with the Silicon Valley, what they're thinking about. So I mean, there's a big problem in terms of AI education. Not many people could access to it, and right now a lot of the very good content is really in English version. So I'm really excited of what Coursera did and Andrew Ng did. He moved his position from the Baidu, and actually he launched his education program because he thinks that's the best way to benefit most of the people. And more people know, and very simple way to understand the concept. I think that's just a little bit of my concern about it, because right now it's just so unequality in terms of the AI education. So if I would like to have more kind of start working on this.
Thank you, Chance and Paritosh. I'm sure you've got insights you'd like to share here too. Please go ahead.
Sure. So I think AI is going to be a big equalizer in the world, and especially from two perspectives that I talk. One is wealth creation. So there are a lot of robo advisory companies around the world who are now popping up. The second is, of course, and of course, once wealth spreads across the world, chances are very, very high. Hopefully that there's some sort of an interesting equalization that kind of happens. Also that as one of the panelists mentioned, small applications that help not just the younger generation, but also our parents and people of the older generation to lead a healthier, to lead a more efficient life. I think that's how I see AI really benefiting the vast majority of people.
Thank you, Paritosh. And Ali, let's hear what you have to say.
Actually, a couple of years ago, we wanted to create an applications called Together. It was intended to use the AI, and the AI was meant to be in the calendars of people, so it would know about your busy days and busy times and the free times. So in your free times, it will try to bring you with people like-minded, so offline, not online. So and would tell, for example, if you like to go for shopping, or if you like to play football, it will introduce you to people in your area in football who likes to play football. Later on, it will understand when do you eat, how do you eat, and it will recommend good restaurants and healthy restaurants around you. We believed at that time that AI will be in every single aspect of life, and it will help you just to live a better life, to have better social network, to have better health, and so on. This is what I believe that AI should be doing and can be doing right now.
Thank you, Ali. And Kalu, we'd love to hear from you before hearing from Christian. Please go ahead, Kalu.
Yeah, I think the beauty about artificial intelligence for small businesses is that it can mine for data that these small businesses probably would never have seen, right? And the thing about AI is that it's not static. It learns and it adapts. So as a business owner, you'll be able to really figure out what your customer wants, what they need, what they value, right? And then from a point of view from communication, like I believe Christian stated, application, right? So how can things such as chatbots really communicate with your consumer so that they can build a better relationship with the consumer and answer all the questions that they need without an actual person having to be there.
Thank you, Kalu. And Christian, we'd love to hear from you before moving on to our next question. Please go for it.
Thank you, Alysia. Well, for businesses of all sizes, we'll see their business activities become more efficient as AI becomes part of software. So we'll see things like automated bookkeeping for small and large businesses, and better forecasting of when you need to hire or when you need to purchase resources. then for people, all of us operate as individuals and families and groups as well, we'll enjoy better healthcare, more resilient communications infrastructures, better use of natural resources, more efficient available transportation. And a big topic that we all need to think about for the future is there will be a lot of wealth created from this, and how is that wealth distributed? And that's something that we're starting to see more people think about and talk about, but it's an important part of the conversation too.
Thank you, Christian. And on that note, we've been talking about all the cool stuff, but now we need to talk about the social impact of AI. So we're going to direct this question to you, Chance, and we'd love to hear from the rest of our panel. Are we spending enough time thinking about the social implications of AI? If you were asked to give advice to the leader of a country or the leader of a city, what would your advice be? Chance, please go ahead and share your insights.
You mean for a country?
For a country, or whether it's for a city, if you were looking to the future, what advice would you give them, including both the dark side and the good side of AI? In your honest opinion, what advice would you give them?
I mean, so for country, I originally from China, so I know what's going on there. And right now, I'm in Silicon Valley, the hot top of AI. So I think for a lot, almost like every country, I think they should have AI as a strategy. Like right now in China, the government is really take a good big bet on the AI. So and also in China, it's kind of like very move very quickly. So everything moves very quickly. And if you have some new product coming, then they just very easy to apply to the real users and to move very fast to gather the real data. That really makes a lot of difference in compared with some things maybe happen in United States, maybe much slower. So I just think, but also there's a big dark side of the AI. Sometimes I always kind of thinking by myself. You think about the our history, the dinosaur actually kind of like destroyed by the kind of climate change stuff. I always asking myself, is this timing for kind of disaster for our human? Because we kind of invented ourselves, we ourselves even didn't understand well. Then we invented those stuff. Maybe we will lose control of it. So I mean, in terms of a country, they should really think about the dark side of the AI as well. Compared to just think about the kind of the advance in the society by using AI.
Thank you, Chance. Paritosh, I know we're running out of time, unfortunately, but we'd love to hear from you, then Diego, then Kalu, Ali, and Christian. What advice would you give to the leaders of countries around the world, both the good side and the bad side of AI? Please share your insights.
So I'll keep it really short and quick. So, from my side, one advice would be to curb fake news. I think I'm seeing a lot of people around the world today taking decisions, and decisions of many kinds and sorts, basis the news that they're consuming on their social media feeds. I think it's really important for various countries to now act together and use AI to curb fake news. I think it's critical. Number two is very important. There was a TechCrunch article, just I think today or yesterday, which said that Dow Jones said that Google was buying Apple and the bots bought it. One of the things that it also said was that our financial markets are being run by bots with the intelligence of infants. Keyword search, sentiment analysis, and trend. So I think the other advice that I would really give is this. Look, the basis of our human existence today, and one of the most important parts is as we discussed, wealth creation, right? If AI is going to overtake all of financial markets, I don't know, somewhere in the future, it has to be regulated today. Otherwise, what will happen? No one really could imagine. Yeah. So that's just my two pieces of advice. Otherwise, I'm really positive about what humanity is creating out of AI.
Thank you, and we'd love to hear from Diego. Diego, your piece of advice for government leaders around the world.
Absolutely. I'll relate this one to transportation. I think my advice really starts with just getting connected. I mean, there's a lot of cities that we talk about, and it's easy to lose focus being here in California, or like when I used to live in San Francisco and thinking technology is everywhere, but it's not. There's a tremendous amount of cities that are still looking to even get to a place where they're even gathering data that can be leveraged for interesting things like AI. And so my simple advice is start getting connected, start purchasing software, start buying the infrastructure that will allow your city to progress in a way that's meaningful for transportation or for any future innovation. So those are my 2 cents.
Thank you, Diego. Kalu, we'd love to quickly hear from you. Government leaders around the world, what piece of advice would you give them?
Yep, I think there are 3 main pieces when it comes to AI. That's data, computer processing power, and human talent, right? But I believe that we're lacking in the space of having data scientists or engineers that understand or have a high level understanding of what AI is or what these machine learning algorithms are. So I think investing in more of these data scientists and data engineers would be really, really great for a lot of companies, countries, or cities, right? But at the same time, we need to also understand that as AI grows, we need to have some type of defense mechanism in place. Personally, because again, like we're trying to grow these machines to be smarter than human beings. So we don't want that to backfire on us years down the road. I think having a self-defense mechanism in place would be really, really smart, and at the same time, investing in your people to build out these machine learning algorithms.
Thank you, Kalu. And quickly from Ali and then Christian, please go ahead, share your advice to global leaders around the world.
Actually, as you know, the Middle East is an area of conflict. So using AI, the Middle East, I mean, for the leaders themselves, they would understand they will know more about their nations, how some of these nations are suffering so much. And these data are not really going through to those leaders. So like in Egypt, as you can see in Egypt, the nation are really suffering. You find a lot of entrepreneurs, but you find a lot of opportunities, good human capital. But unfortunately, this image is not well reflected to the leaders. Therefore, they are not acting upon this thing. The leaders are acting in a different direction, and the nation are acting in a different direction as well. So I believe it will help to make transparency between both. And regarding the dark side of it, as Paritosh said, at some point it might control the stock market itself, because I have been a trader once before, and I know how the AI will be able to predict the coming behavior of stocks, and it will be able to it will help some people to gain a lot of money, and will help other people to be more poor.
Thank you, Ali. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We quickly want to hear from Christian, but thank you for those insights. Christian, please give your piece of advice to global leaders around the world before we jump into our favorite part of our session. Christian, go for it.
Thank you, Alysia. Well, overall, a country's knowledge and prowess with AI will be one of the defining features in terms of a country's relative power in the world. So geopolitical power will start to hinge on AI abilities that a country possesses. That's one thing. Another thing is that government ministers in all departments should be thinking about AI's benefits for the areas they're working on, but also the long-range implications, some of the potential negative consequences of AI. And I think beyond the near term, AI is going to ideally force government leaders to think about working together, because we're talking about systems that span the globe and are networked and are very interdependent. And if we implement the right types of political thinking, we'll be able to help one another across the globe.
Thank you, Christian. And now moving on to our favorite part of today, just tell our VIPs how it works. We're going to run through the panel. You have to tell us the first thing that pops into your mind. The question 2 goes as follows. What excites you in 2017, and what industries do you believe are ripe for disruption? And here we go. Chance, what excites you in 2017, and industries are ripe for disruption?
I'm really excited about it specifically in AI and the blockchain space. I think maybe it's have some exciting things happen, like combine those two technologies, like just like before one panelist mentioned, like those data so centralized, maybe it's very dangerous for like our normal people. But if it could be decentralized, maybe it's very exciting.
Thank you, Chance. Paritosh, what excites you in 2017? What industries are ripe for disruption?
What excites me is the fact that I'm from India, which has the next billion users, as said by Google. So that's what excites me about the sheer size of the market that I have, which is really evolving very, very fast. And what's ripe for disruption is LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn and professional networking is going to get disrupted very, very soon.
Thank you, Paritosh. Diego, let's hear from you.
Transportation, but not because of the autonomous vehicle, but because of the impacts it will have. And so the way I view this is, if you think about, if you can digitize all the information in transportation, all of a sudden now it literally creates opportunity for how companies operate. You're thinking about the rental car markets that don't need to actually own any assets anymore, but can use, let's say, available parking spaces. And so I think there's going to be an amazing amount of both opportunity, wealth creation, and innovation as it relates to transportation as soon as the autonomous vehicle comes in and is able to digitize the data for cities.
Thank you, Diego. And Kalu, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to AI, I believe the educational space is really open for disruption, like how people are able to learn what people want to learn. Because if you look at education today, like it really hasn't changed as much. So as we figure out what people want to learn and how they want to learn, I believe AI will take education to the next level. On top of e-commerce, when we start to personalize a lot of like the products that you want within your home and outside your home.
Thank you, Kalu. Quickly as possible, Ali, what excites you in 2017? What industries are ripe for disruption before we ask Christian?
Briefly, it's about the combination between e-commerce, AI, and blockchain. I believe the whole world will become one single marketplace.
Thank you. And Christian, please go ahead.
I'm very excited about technology improving healthcare, where we're seeing small teams solve very large problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Now, while we ask our VIPs to prepare their tweet piece of advice that we could all go ahead and ride the AI wave, thanks to everyone for a truly amazing session. And thank you to our VIP guests. I think we've all had a ton of fun today. Just to keep you posted on some very cool upcoming sessions with some of the world's best joining us once again as panelists this Sunday for our investor session, a very timely topic. Given what's happening around the world, it's inspiring women changing the face of venture capital and corporate development. This is one you don't want to miss. Next Wednesday, an important follow-up on today's show, Rise of the Robots, What's the New Frontier hold for all of us. Remember to keep us up to date on all your progress. We love hearing from you. You can find me as well as all our VIPs and our champions on LinkedIn. You can always email us at inspireme@onlinefiresidechat.com. And as I say, we love hearing that you're succeeding. These are VIPs that love sharing and inspiring and making sure that you are the best entrepreneurs that you can be. So let's run through our panel, ask our VIPs for our tweet piece of advice. They can all go ahead and apply to our businesses, and we'll go as fast as we can, starting with Diego. Diego, what's your tweet piece of advice?
Piece of advice, if you're a data scientist, go and be an entrepreneur. Start and focus on disruption.
I love it. Chance, your tweet piece of advice.
I mean, I think for every entrepreneur should look, at least maybe you're not in this industry, at least keep tracking this AI, what's right now the stage of AI, and think about how their industry or their company or startups could make use of it.
Thank you. Paritosh, what's your tweet piece of advice?
Solve local problems first. It's not necessary that something that's worked somewhere else in the world will just copy and paste into your geography.
Thank you. Kalu, your tweet piece of advice.
There's a revolution on the way, so please don't miss out.
Very good advice. Ali, your tweet piece of advice.
Actually, you have to read a lot about AI, because today I have known a lot of applications that I have never known about. So just keep yourself updated with AI till you get the right product or the right project.
Thank you. And Christian, what's your tweet piece of advice?
It's not science fiction. Start having conversations about it.
Thank you, Christian. And my tweet piece of advice, well, if you enjoyed today's show, make sure to share the invitation so we can get to 100 country goal. More importantly, remind yourself how grateful we all are and lucky we all are to be entrepreneurs. It is a privilege, and we must never forget how lucky we are living in exciting but potentially scary times. So remember that you have friends, family, people that support you on this journey. Thank you to everyone for a truly, truly, truly amazing session. We're looking forward to hearing from you on Sunday. Keep having an amazing week. Don't stop hustling and never, ever, ever give up. On the count of 3, I'm going to ask our VIPs to shout bye. 1, 2, 3. Bye, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys.